To the glistening eastern sea, I give you Queen Lucy the valiant. To the great western wood, King Edmund the just. To the radiant southern sun, Queen Susan the gentle. And to the clear northern sky, I give you King Peter the magnificent. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses.
Our number for the day is 4. This is a very useful number when trying to sort people into different groups. When it comes to world building or building teams, you will often see them operate in 4 different parts.
Those 4 parts can be summed up in a variety of different ways. Today we're talking about the heroic, the cinnamon roll character, the nerd, and the not-so-bad guy.
So like in our example quote, you have the heroic, that is Peter the Magnificent. You have the cinnamon roll character, that's Queen Lucy. You have the nerd, Queen Susan. And the not-so-bad guy, King Edmund.
You'll see this all over the place, especially when you have dystopian or extra-normal cultures. Something like Avatar, The Last Airbender, you've got the 4 different elements, and the Fire Nation has this particular type of mentality. They tend to be the not-so-bad guys, the guys needing redemption. Or the 3 Musketeers, where you see these archetypes pop up.
Harry Potter is a really good example of this. You have the 4 houses that fall very well into these categories: heroic, cinnamon roll, nerd, and the not-so-bad guys. Or sometimes actually bad guys. So let's break into these 4 different categories. The heroic one is usually the one that will come to mind first when considering these plots, because you have that character who is very upfront in everything. The strong will stand in front of a bully or stand up for what's right. The heroic category are usually the heroes of your story.
And not just the ones who stand between the bad guys and the good, but also often the main characters. Because they tend to be the catalyst for a lot of this story moving forward, they're the ones to step up and to get involved when justice needs to be served, those kinds of things. They tend to keep the plot moving, which makes them great for having as a main character.
These characters we love them most of the time, but they can be kind of dense. They are meant for the heroics, they are not meant for the thinking. And so they can be a little dumb, they can take brash steps a lot of the times, but what really matters for this character is that they step in when it matters. When they're needed the most, they are there.
And the last reason why this particular role tends to be the favorite is they have that tragic backstory, which is something that we as authors love to lean into. So even though they lost their spouse to the big bad blah 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 whatever, they are still stepping up and fighting. That tragedy makes their will that much stronger and helps them move forward in the story.
As for the reader's favorite characters, I would say this often tends to be the cinnamon roll type of character. The friendly, open, Hufflepuff-style person who just wants to have a good time and wants everybody to get along. In the examples we've given, this is Lucy, this is the Hufflepuffs, and this is the Air Nation. They aren't involved in a lot of conflict, even though they hold a lot of power and capability.
One of my favorite things about why these characters are included is because everyone else can get so caught up in their own heads that they forget the incredibly obvious. I recently finished listening through Dominion of Blades, the 2nd book. So they're searching for this magic fruit in order to cast a spell. And one character's like, you know what? Because it's spell-based, I'm going to go to the Magic Academy and I'll see if they have any leads on this. And then another's like, I'm going to go to the alchemy group because they're good at spell ingredients. The cinnamon roll character's like, you know what? It's a fruit. Finds it at the market, at the grocery store, when no one else could, because this character, Raj, understood the obvious of fruit.
Especially, I think, with the heroic and the nerd characters, they tend to overthink too much, but the cinnamon rolls are there to be very to the point, very down to earth, because they just want to protect their friends. But their friends often see them as being a little bit naive or a little bit softer. So they're the ones that everyone else also really wants to protect. And the not so bad guy will go absolutely ham on anyone who hurts the cinnamon roll.
That's why I think a lot of the Slytherin Hufflepuff jokes online really work and really resonate with people reading them, is because we either are or know a cinnamon roll. We have this person in our group, and the rest of the world will be decimated before I will let you put a finger on my Hufflepuff. They also tend to be the one who holds back your hero. The one who goes, maybe we don't have to fight. Maybe we can all just be friends. How about we try the diplomatic route? Let's all sing Kumbaya. Can drive the hero a little batty because they want to do something and this doesn't feel like they're doing anything. But that cinnamon roll is essential in everyone getting out safe on the other side because they avoided a fight instead of winning the fight.
The next kind of character is the nerd. These characters are essential because they bring the smarts, they bring the knowledge, and they help keep the other people informed on whatever is going on around them. In Narnia, this was Susan. She looked at things very logically, very straightforward. Harry Potter, you have Ravenclaw, and then this is often how the Earth Kingdom is seen in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And the reason why I put Earth Kingdom in this category is because they're so bureaucratic. My brother calls them the actually characters. The ones who are pushing up their glasses and a little bit sweaty going, well, actually, this is how things go. And that's very much this nerd character. But they're also incredibly vital to the rest of the group. Because whereas the rest of the group will just plunge on ahead, the nerd will go, let's do some research. Let's see what the facts are. Let's go into this as informed as possible. And oftentimes, they've already done the research.
Through this knowledge, through their logic, they will often keep the rest of the characters very grounded. But the other characters don't always see them in the best of light. They will, speaking from experience, often be seen as a know-it-all, as somebody who's holding back the group because they do want to take time to research, to investigate, to make sure they're doing it the right way the first time.
They also tend to be the people who don't know what to do with the information that they have. They have done all of this research and then someone says, well, if only we had a wheelbarrow. I'm like, oh yeah, I got one. I have the answer to your question. It's right here. You just had to ask the question because I don't know what you want to do with this information. Which leads into our next point that these characters are book smart, not necessarily street smart.
They have done a lot of study. They are very smart in how things are logically, but the actual practical application of this knowledge is difficult for them because they generally don't have a lot of that street experience. Stereotypically, they've spent most of their time locked away in a library studying things, not experiencing things. And that leads to a different kind of knowledge basis than is usually helpful in thinking quickly on your feet.
The fourth category we have is the not-so-bad guy. The character who is still, yes, technically on the good guy's side, and they're more of a redeemed bad guy than a morally gray character. Sometimes you'll throw the morally gray character into here as well. But that's going to be Edmund, or the Slytherins, or the Fire Nation.
These are some of my favorite characters because I love a good redemption arc. And I don't think there is any better redemption arc than Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you have a character who is so set on a goal, who's so set on getting his honor back by capturing and bringing in the Avatar, but through his experiences learns to be better. So he starts out as a bad guy, but becomes the not so bad guy anymore by the end because he's realized the mistakes, he's realized the other side of things. But he still holds on to some of those original tendencies that leads him to being a little bit on the shadier side than somebody like Aang was.
Another signature of this particular archetype is that they don't want to get involved, and or they're involved but they started on the wrong side. Someone like Edmund didn't want to go explore this snowfield on the other side of the wardrobe, and when he did, he accepted Turkish delight from the queen. That started the problem that they then needed to find redemption for him in order to solve to complete the story.
These characters often end up being the secret ingredient of some kind. Because of that redemption, because they've been on the wrong side or haven't liked being on the good side most of the time, they get a chance to be the key to solving the problem. Zuko was very key in getting them into the Fire Nation to defeat his own father, but it only happened because they were willing to accept their mistakes and ask for forgiveness and try to be better. Overall, the idea of 4, using these kinds of stereotypes with a collection, a team of 4 people, with sorting people into 4, is a way to help organize your world, organize the people involved in it. Helps the readers keep track of what's going on very easily because there are clear definitions of where they belong. So if you understand your goal and your purpose in using this, if you do that, you're setting yourself up for success, while then also giving yourself permission to
write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.